So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. The topic of today's webinar is making the most of existing assets by applying the right technologies. And that includes practical guidance on how to build a technology plan. My name is Erik Nijveld. For those of you that haven't met me, or for those of you that haven't been in one of the previous webinars in which I presented, I started technologycatalog.com about 5 years ago, supporting the energy industry with accelerating technology deployment. And before starting the company, I was at Shell for many years, for about 20 years, essentially always in roles related to technology deployment, well subsurface facilities for projects and assets. In my last role as technology deployment manager, responsible for a global task force, or technology replication thrust, as it was called in Shell, to find and select the most relevant external technologies, and then to get those technologies deployed and replicated across the company. I would now like to hand over to Piet for an introduction. Piet, over to you.
Thank you, Eric. My name is Piet Moeilijker. I'm the Chief Information Officer at technologycatalog.com. I joined a little bit more than 6 months ago. I look after all the different data aspects, how we get value out of technology deployment. Before that, I worked for Shell, almost 17 years in roles related to technology deployment and in roles related to fluid flow and flow assurance. And as part of my Shell time, I've also worked very extensively with Eric already. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Piet. And besides Piet and myself, we have a guest speaker, Harry Polman. Harry, hope you're still able to hear us and be able to speak. If so, it would be great if you can also briefly introduce yourself. And it looks like Harry has dropped off. Anyway, we'll continue with the webinar now, but Harry will give a talk in the second half of this webinar, showing some exciting things that he and his company work on to support assets. But for now, let's start with the webinar. Let's go to the next slide. First, a couple of practicalities. If you have any questions, you can type them in the Q&A box on the left-hand side. And you can ask questions at any moment in time. So we will address the questions right away or during the Q&A block at the end of the webinar. The session will be recorded, and the recordings will be made available via technologycatalog.com/webinars. And in that same area, you will find the recordings of the previous webinars. And if you would like to follow up with us, please contact us at info@technologycatalog.com. And of course, if you have any questions to Harry, you can contact him directly. So Harry, great to see that you're back. Perhaps before we start with the part that Piet and I will cover, if you can briefly introduce yourself, and what I just mentioned is that later on in the webinar, you will present your technologies and your company.
Yes, thank you, Eric. Welcome, everyone. My name is Harry Polman. I'm the Managing Director and owner of the company H2O Biophonic Solutions. We are based in the Netherlands. However, we have offices at different places in the world. My background is related to chemistry and biology. And I started this company about 9 years ago. And before I started this company, I worked for 20 years as a consultant. My expertise is all about preventing biofouling risks in water systems. And the experience is built up in the past almost 30 years at many different utilities around the world.
Excellent. Thanks, Harry. And we'll first cover our bit, and later on in the webinar, we'll hand over to you. But let's go to the next slide. And let's dive into the topic of making the most of existing assets by applying the right technologies. In order to do so, it's important to have a bit of a strategy. And such a strategy doesn't have to be complicated. It can be quite simple, but it should certainly articulate in which areas as a company you want to be a leader, and in which areas you want to be a follower. And that can be a fast follower, a slow follower. And actually, dependent on the type of company or the size of your company, it may even be perfectly fine not to be a leader in any area and follow what others have been doing. But in case you are a follower, it's also good to articulate which companies you are following. And just to give an example, if you're a small operator in the UK, it can be a perfectly fine strategy to replicate what others in the UK have been doing. And that's just one example. And in order to build a technology plan, the starting point, important starting point, is to create an overview of challenges and opportunities. And to build such an overview, it's good to see what the strategic direction of your company is. If, for example, the direction is to move into hydrogen, that is important input for building your technology plan. Business improvement themes are important, for example, digitalisation. And you can also cover the challenges and opportunities through structured interviews with people at different levels in the organizations and in different roles and different departments. You can also do it by sending out surveys. Those can be simple surveys. For example, sending out an email to people, asking them to articulate their key challenges. Input can also be extracted from existing information such as risk registers or the scope and schedule for an upcoming turnaround. And it's certainly also important to look at external market insights and trends as input for the plan. But whatever input you use, whenever you're being tasked with building a technology plan and keeping an overview of challenges and opportunities, it's also important to form your own opinion and challenge assumptions out there that people have. Look at the data and translate the data into insights, data about production deferment or data where the OPEX is going to, and translate it into insights and actions. And also hold up the mirror towards people. And later on, Pete will show the platform, technologycatalog.com, that we use as main input whenever we support companies with building a plan. The platform contains many examples of technologies successfully used by others. Hold up the mirror towards your colleagues and say, hey, this has been done by others to address certain challenges. Is it actually also an opportunity for us? And connect the dots. And connecting dots is particularly important when you look at opportunities at the interface of disciplines. This may be a little bit difficult to read what you see here, but this is a screenshot of what is included on our platform. Recently, we launched functionality whereby companies can share their challenges. And whenever the challenges are being created and submitted, it's important to be as specific as possible. And this is a nice example, detection and tracing of underground pipelines. I won't read it out all what you see here on the screen. But the key point I want to make here is whenever you create an overview of challenges and opportunities for your company, be as specific as possible such that suppliers can act on the challenges and opportunities. So say exactly what the challenge is about, a bit about the environment in which it needs to be applied. For example, the location, that already tells quite a bit, or whether it's something is onshore and offshore, or the type of terrain, and such that the suppliers can respond in the best possible way. Moving to the next slide. Whenever you create an overview of challenges and opportunities, or the business needs in general, it's good to group them into themes. And you see a couple of examples here: opening, closing wells, infill drilling campaigns, etc. And the last thing you see on the list here is reduce the movement of goods and staff or optimize logistics, you could say. And you need to drill down deeper. So just to focus on movements of goods and staff, you could, for example, group that into sub-themes, optimize the movements, perhaps finding alternative transport methods, perhaps find ways to do remote surveillance instead of sending people offshore or drive hundreds of kilometers to a specific location. But even the sub-theme level, yeah, that needs to be more precise. It has to be more specific, like the example I just showed, the screenshot from the platform coming from Brunei Shell. And in order to identify technologies to address the business needs, the main source that we use whenever we support clients is the platform, technologycatalog.com. Most of you on this call are likely already familiar with it. In a moment, I will hand over to Piet for a demo, also highlighting how specifically this platform is being used to find and select the most relevant technologies to address the challenges. I would just like to say here that the platform is growing rapidly, but now it already contains over 650 technologies from small suppliers, also bigger ones. Schlumberger recently signed up, and the first 12 technologies are live from a great variety of suppliers, and with great technologies that can truly make the most of existing assets. And with that, I would like to hand over to Piet.
I'm here at our technology.catalog environment. You can just go to technology. You can go to technologycatalog.com, and if you go from our main page, you will have there on the top right-hand side a button to log in or to sign up. By just plugging login, I can log in, and I'm using here our demo environment in order to log in into the environment. And so when I log in, I end up in my my homepage, and on my homepage, I see my toolbox on the left-hand side, which allows me to look at my own information, my subscription, my company details, but also the challenges that I have posted, or the messagings that I have been receiving or that I have been sending. Within our platform, you have an opportunity in order to edit or to set your areas of interest. And in this case, I have said that I would be interested, for example, in pipelines and pipelines technologies. And so in my toolbox, you see then also technologies that are linked to pipelines. If I just pick one, if I select here, for example, mechanical connector, I will go to my technology page, and for each of our 600 plus technologies, we have a similar layout of a technology page that I would like to discuss shortly. So you see a name, you see a title in order, the name of the technology, a subtitle that provides a little bit more information. It tells you what the technology readiness level is using the NASA scale of between 1 to 9, where 9 is proven deployed technology. You get a subscription of the technology here on the left-hand side, and you get some images. And in this case, there are also videos available that you can look at and see the entire technology better. From the technology page itself, you also have the opportunity to directly reach out to the supplier through our messaging functionality. And you can get more information about the company itself, in this case, Starts Group. And you can also, the information is in there in order to contact them or in order to visit directly their website. If this is something that sounds interesting to you, you can also say that you would like to follow the technology, and I'll see later on how you can use that. So I press follow in this case. There are some pros and some cons indicated, specifications where you can see if this specific technology is also applicable to your specific application. And it also indicates on the right-hand side some of the companies that are already or have used this technology. And each supplier is also asked to indicate a relative business impact. And we have identified 4 categories: CO2 footprint reduction, cost reduction, increase in production, or a technology that helps you with safety. And a supplier is distributing 10 points among those 4 different categories. We can also add reviews. Later on, you'll see some additional technologies and that show some reviews. And if a technology has more technologies on the platform, you can find them on the same page. Now, if I then go to tools and resources, all technologies, I get an overview of all the technologies. You see that at this moment 655 technologies. And then you have different ways in order to find the technologies that you might be interested in and that you want to look at. I just want to show you a few different ways of using the platform. So one way is going under industry, and there you will find technologies that are very specific to only one industry. And so if I select, for example, wind, then I get technologies that are very specific to the wind industry. So these are turbines, for example, or ways of actually managing your wind park. I see here energy pod. And if I click on energy pod, I see that it's a clean alternative to diesel generator sets. And it provides me again with the same information as in the same layout as what I just showed you with mechanical connector. See description, pro, cons. You can connect with the supplier, specifications, who has deployed the technology, and of course here I can indicate that I would like to follow the technology. Going back to all technologies, I might look at different ways as well. Instead of looking at industry, I can look at a team or a discipline, and you see there indeed pipelines, reservoir engineering, process engineering. If I look at technologies, for example, that are in need of repair, or if I look at technologies that can help me to repair my equipment. I see here the first one, double block and bleed saver. And that's in order to work safely behind leaking valves by installing a vacuum lock. And again, it's the same set of information that you will find on this page as that you saw with the other technologies. And in this way, if you find something that's interesting, you can just press follow, and we can later see these technologies inside your toolbox. This is the technology that also has reviews associated with it, and so you can also read what other people who have used this technology think about double block and bleed saver. Now, we have also some advanced type of filters that are not available by our standard subscriptions, but you might also be able to be interested in seeing what your competition has done. And so I would like to see what, for example, Total Energies has done. I can select show me all technologies where we have information that Total has used it. And here I get 48 technologies. Instead of using deployed by or using the filters on the right-hand side, we also have a search box functionality. And if I look for something that is related to, I want to inspect my corrosion challenges that I have, just type it in your search into your search box, and you get technologies where these words show up somewhere in the technology description or overview. And then here, if I grab the first one, I get a technology from Rosen in order to inspect corrosion under installation, under pipe supports. And let's follow this technology as well, and you will find here as well the same information. And so in that way, you can, in a relatively efficient way, you can find what you might be looking for. I'm going to go back to my toolbox, and I want to show you I want to show you something additionally, and that is our Insights Navigator. And the Insights Navigator is, again, it's one for our more advanced subscriptions that we have, and it provides in a different way. It provides information about all our technologies. I spoke with you, I mentioned earlier that each supplier for a technology indicates what their relative business impact is. And so they use a scale of CO2 footprint reduction, cost reduction, production and safety in order to rate their own technology. And we can actually then plot that in a plot where we put, for example, on one axis, we put the CO2 footprint reduction impact, and on the vertical axis, we put cost reduction. And then you can plot all the different technologies, and there's about 600 dots in the figure that you look at. If you're interested in footprint reduction, CO2 footprint reduction, you look at the right-hand side of the green line. You want to have cost reduction. You look at the area here at the top of this graph. If instead of cost reduction, you're more interested in safety improvement, you can select safety improvement, and it will immediately update the overview. But let's go back to cost reduction. And again, also over here, I can simply filter the all the items. And if I'm interested, for example, as a well engineer, I'm interested in what type of wells technology are on the platform, and how do the suppliers rate themselves based on CO2 footprint and cost reduction. I get it with filtering. I get it like this overview. And also this is then again interactive. I hover over these technologies. I get the name, subtitle, and I also get their technology readiness level. I can click on these technologies then, and then by clicking on them, I go immediately to the technology page. This is one from Schlumberger, and over here I can say follow as well. Alternatively, if I say like I would like to look at some recommendations, I have also the capability to look specifically at what my competition has done. And in this case, I say let me look at technologies in the area of inspection. And in this case, I'm happy to be Chevron. And as part of my peers and competitors that I set, I have chosen several peers and competitors, including BP, Exxon, Shell, and Total. And I can see in this overview what are technologies that I, as Chevron in this case, haven't deployed yet, but that my peers and competitors have deployed. And you can see here how many of your peers and competitors have deployed it. And again, you can click on these. You can click on these technologies, and then you will take you again to the technology page. You can also further filter these if this list becomes too long for you. And so in that way, you have plenty of different ways in terms of filtering, looking for items that you might be interested in. In case you're not able to find what you're specifically interested in, Eric already mentioned challenges, and you see here, over here, if I can click on the challenges, I get an overview of different challenges that are currently live on our platforms, and Eric showed you one specific example. If I go back to my toolbox, I can also then go to my challenges, and there I have the functionality under certain subscription plan to also add my own challenges in there. The final thing, if I then go to my toolbox and I go to following, you see that all those technologies that we have just very shortly looked at and that I pressed follow on are now part of my following list. And so if I'm trying to build my technology plan, every time that I need something that is interesting, I can just click follow, and it collects them for you. And you can then use this list of technologies as your starting point in order to further drill down and find something that you're interested in. That's where I would like to stop then.
I have a few more slides, and then we go to Harry. And as the slides are coming up, there's one question coming up which you can address while Pete gets the slides back up. A typical question: where do you get the data from? And the data that Pete just showed about technology deployments, about the relative business impact, is coming from suppliers on the basis that they're allowed to share for which companies they've done business. Some companies that have a page in our platform show undisclosed clients, in which case it means that they don't have permission or they don't want to share. But the information comes from the suppliers. And it's also good to note then that the independent reviews that are captured on pages, those help to, as checks and balances, you can say, give credibility to the claims made by the suppliers, and they also give the confidence to the end use to then deploy and replicate what worked for others. So with that question, if we can have the slides back up, Pete, I have a few more slides before handing over to Harry. So what we covered so far in this webinar is important to cover the challenges and to do it in a structured way to group the challenges, and the platform can then be used to find relevant technologies to address the challenges. The moment you have a list of technologies to address the challenges, that list is then the input for workshop and to focus. We always recommend to not try to do hundreds of things or tens of things even. Focus. It's better to do 3 things in a year instead of having a plan of 100 things, and that you run the risk that nothing is happening, so to speak. So a workshop, a focus workshop can help there. And depending on the size of your company, this can be one single technology planning workshop for the entire company. It can also be a series of workshops, for example, with a group of inspection people, or a workshop around an upcoming turnaround, or a workshop to look at technologies to open up closed-in wells, etc. What is important though is whether you do a big workshop or smaller series of workshops, is to make sure that the people that you invite are directly involved with the challenges and can also support the follow-up or take the lead in the follow-up. So it's important to have the right people around the table. And if we go to the next slides, the workshop itself, whenever we run such a workshop, we have a fairly standard agenda that has demonstrated to work. Introductions, of course, and it's thereby good to let the kickoff be done by a senior leader. That way, also a clear message is given to all around the table that senior management considers this an activity of importance and technology can make a difference. And then per challenge, go through the list of identified technologies. I mean, per challenge, there can be multiple technologies that can support, and go through them. And as a group, assess impact versus doability, or impact versus risk, and rank the technologies accordingly. And we won't go into full detail here during this webinar how we do that, but we use a structured methodology to support that. And then shortlist the technologies and decide which ones to take forward. You can't do everything, and it's better, as said, to focus on a couple of key ones. And the moment those key ones have been done or set into motion, you can fill the hopper and get the next ones going. And going to the next slide, it's also important that for each technology, each shortlist technology, to identify who is the lead. Someone needs to take the lead and someone is the decision maker. So make it explicit. One lead, one decision maker. And the lead is responsible for creating a plan for that specific technology. It's effectively treating every single technology deployment like a project, making sure a plan is built, approval is obtained, and then to deliver the plan all the way to the point to getting the technology embedded and do the after-action review and capture the learnings. And the final step of the workshop is to present the outcome to the same senior leader that kicked off the event. And this way you have the opportunity to immediately highlight the potential size of the prize and also get momentum built around the plan. And the technology plan itself, it is a compilation, you can say, of all those single plans per technology. So a technology plan, the moment it's written up, it contains a summary, including a table of technologies that you're going to pursue, the size of the prize. It's also important to include an overview of the business needs, the technologies that can address the business needs, which technologies have been selected, and then the collection of plans for each technology. And of course, also the underlying details per technology. So overall, the pack or the whole plan can be a sizable document, but it's very important to make sure that the summary is there upfront, and that can also be used to report out, and that can also be used to track the progress against plan. So with that, we would actually like to show one specific technology, and this bit that you see on the slide here, if time permits, we'll go into detail later on. But I would first like to hand over to Harry Polman. And Harry, let's see if you're able to share your slides. In case there would be any IT issue, we have the slides here with us, and we can share the slides from here. But if correct, you are able to talk, Ken, or actually you're on mute at the moment, Harry.
Sorry, I'm back in, and let me try to share.
Said if there would be any issue, Harry, we have the slides here, and we can put them on the screen from here.
Okay.
Perfectly fine.
You can see the screen?
Yes, can see the screen. Over to you, Harry.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Pete. Well, based on the topic, how can you make the most of existing assets? The technology I like to present today, I think fits very well in this objective. Our services are all based on trying to optimize operational reliability and performance of an asset, applying best available technologies. Let me start with a very brief introduction of our company. Our company is called H2O Biopharmaceutical Solutions. We have more than 25 years of pretty unique experience in controlling biofouling risks for industries. The solutions we provide is a combination of consultancy, design, engineering, site testing, inspections, monitoring, and training. We have our head office where I'm based is in the Netherlands, and we have some offices spread around the world, as you can see on the world map. And we also work very closely together with local partners. Getting back to the topic, biofouling is a topic which is all related to surface water used by industry. Industries use large volumes of surface water, either for cooling, in a power plant, an oil and gas installation, chemical plant, or heavy industries, or as a source to produce potable water, like desalination industries or water production companies. When the water enters the utility and pipework at an intake, going through the process of condensers and heat exchangers, together with the water, also biology enters the system. And based on the conditions inside a cooling water system, a pipework, the conditions are actually ideal for these organisms to settle and grow. Now, if you look at the bottom pictures, you see a clean pipe. The rate of biofouling goes fast. If you immerse the pipe in, for example, seawater, after 1 minute, there is already an adhesion of organic particles, which allow bacteria to settle and attach to the surface. This usually goes within 1 day. When there is macrofouling larvae, for example, of mussels or oyster species available in the water, in a period of about 2 weeks after the pipe was submerged in the water, these animals are capable of attaching to the surface and grow. From a clean pipe to a foul pipe, you see on the right, that can go very fast. Actually, it can take a few months, and then you can already have a lot of fouling in your pipe, which in some cases is irreversible. The impact of this fouling in cooling water and in feed water systems can be quite severe. You can see some pictures on the side, which we took during inspections. The worst case impact is an unplanned outage, either caused by head loss in the seawater pump basin or by a blockage of condenser or heat exchangers. Biofouling has an impact on the reduction of thermal efficiency of a heat exchanger in an RO. Increasing the rate of cleaning frequencies. You generally need more chemicals to combat biofouling, and biofouling can also result in corrosion, as the picture on the right top, MIC, microbial induced corrosion. Last but not least, biofouling can also have a human health risk related to the bacteria Legionella, which can grow in cooling tower systems. Biofouling in general leads always in a loss of production capacity and increased operation and maintenance cost. And the cost can be very severe, especially when you have an unplanned shutdown. How do you prevent this kind of biofouling? Well, in general, there are standard specifications to add, for example, a biocide to water continuously or with a shock dosing. But the technology we developed, called eco-dosing, actually takes in advantage the conditions, local conditions of the location and the specifications of the water system. These conditions include the design of the intake and water distribution system. It includes what kind of biofouling species are you actually trying to mitigate in a specific location. The water quality, seasonal effects of this specific location, and last but not least, the restrictions of the system specifications, for example, in an RO plant, and the discharge permits allowance. Combining these parameters, you can actually tune your biofouling control procedure in a way that it becomes effective at the lowest cost using the lowest amount of chemicals. Now, the technology we're talking about, eco-dosing, was developed 25 years ago, actually. At that moment, it was branded pulse chlorination. And the technology has been acknowledged widely in industries, but also, for example, in the IPPC's BREF document created by the European Union. After 25 years of installations of this technology in all kinds of industries, like oil and gas, power plants, in chemical industries, but also desalination plants, we noted 3 specific benefits. First of all, operational benefits. Eco-dosing will guarantee a production capacity, so there is no risk for reduction of production or downtime caused by biofouling in your system. Economical benefits, no loss of production capacity, and also a significant reduction in chemical use. In average, we see a reduction of 30 to 60% in comparison to standardized specifications for chemical use in seawater systems. Lower energy consumption. That's an environmental benefit. Reduction of discharge of biocides. If you use less chemicals, you reduce the discharge of chemicals, but also the byproducts. For example, chlorination byproducts like bromoform. Clean systems will reduce carbon dioxide emissions. So the CO2 footprint will also be reduced. Now, typically, a picture on the left and a picture on the right, a inlet water box of a condenser, from fouled to spotless clean. That's what we typically see after implementing this technology. To monitor the efficiency of the dosing regime and the technology, we apply biomonitoring systems. This is an example of a monitoring system where macrofouling organisms like mussels, barnacles, oysters can be measured real time, and this box can be gives the operator real-time insight in the efficiency of biofouling in his seawater system. The monitor can be connected easily as a plug-and-play system. It doesn't need a power supply. It just works on the pressure of your water system. We noted when we implemented the technology and applied this kind of monitoring system, we not only could reduce the amount of chemicals required to mitigate fouling, but we could also reduce the amount of chemicals based on a seasonal pattern of biofouling reproduction. So, for example, in seawater systems, we were able to reduce the amount of biocides with 68%. And in freshwater systems, we actually were able to reduce the amount of biocides with 91% overall on a yearly basis. The technologies like this monitoring system are proven technologies, and we have a long track record using this kind of monitoring systems in cooling water systems around the world. I like to refer to two case studies we have for the technology eco-dosing. The first one is a power plant on the seawater coast in the Netherlands, Maasvlakte. I refer to this location because this was the first location where the technology was implemented. Before the technology was implemented, they used a continuous chlorination. You see on the right, there was still fouling in the system. The reason why there was fouling in the system was that they had to maintain a discharge concentration and comply to this low level of chlorination. When we implemented the technology back in 1998, we noted that overall the chlorine reduction was 68%. And during inspections, we noted the pictures you see on the right bottom, spotless clean system with more than half the amount of chemicals used in comparison to the pictures on the left. At Maasvlakte, we installed the time interval and concentration 25 years ago, and we never changed it. So it maintained efficient for a long period of time. And during inspections we do on a regular basis, we always see the same pictures. Very clean condenser, very clean feedwater systems, pipe systems, feedwater pipes to the condenser. Another example is in the Middle East, Qatargas LNG. It's an LNG plant on the north part of Qatar and Ras Laffan. They were challenged by the Ministry of Environment back in 2005 to reduce the discharge concentration from 0.2 to 0.05 milligrams per liter of free residual chlorine. Before 2005, they had a continuous chlorination, but still they found shells in their system. So the continuous chlorination again was able to reduce biofouling, but not mitigate biofouling. We installed the technology and we tuned the dosing based on the local conditions. Overall, we reduced the amount of chlorine with 56%. And the picture on the right shows the inspection after 3 years of operation. What we achieved was compliance with the very strict low discharge limits, but improved the overall reliability of the cooling water system and reduced a lot of cost. For example, the electric chlorination plant, we could shut down half of the capacity. Thank you for the attention, and I look forward to hear if there is any question.
Thanks, Harry. Very impressive story, and great to see the numbers, and indeed a great fit with the theme of this webinar of making the most of existing assets. So at what point do people, when are companies typically open to your solution? The moment they are in sort of trouble, so to speak, or more proactively?
Well, I have to say the first 15 years, especially when we started this technology, we mainly got interest from companies who were facing challenges in the way of a very foul system with a lot of problems of marine fouling, or like Qatargas, they were challenged because of the discharge reduction of chlorine. Nowadays, we see more because by building up references, we get more involved in new to build utilities where, like in the feed design, already this technology will be incorporated to optimize the biofouling control procedure in your seawater intake to make sure that during the commissioning of the seawater system, you already maintain a clean system and you prevent issues downstream, but also you can save a lot of capex cost.
Okay, excellent. Great to hear that shift. And who is your typical customer in a company, or what's the role of the person that is the focal point on the customer side?
Well, that's a very interesting question because what we see in the technology, actually, it has a benefit in respect to operations. It has a benefit in cost reduction, and it has an environmental benefit. So what we typically see is that like an environmental manager within a company is a great supporter of this technology. A plant manager, reliable operation, and the operation manager, cost saving, guaranteeing operational reliability, no production loss. Those are typically items where these kind of roles are become very interested in the technology.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. And actually nicely links back to also what I presented earlier. For those of you on this call responsible for building a technology plan and for creating a list of challenges, whenever you interview people, hold up the mirror and challenge them a bit and say, hey, are you sure that this is not something that you're looking for, so to speak? I mean, to challenge them in a gentle way and to make sure that these type of solutions, for which there could be multiple owners on the company side, are aware.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that is certainly something that's good to highlight for all of you on the call, building technology plans. Hey, and in terms of your customer base, Harry, is it global, or do you see particular activity in certain parts of the world?
Well, we tend to do business globally. However, based on also on history, we do quite a lot of work. Actually, Shell is one of our big clients, so we support Shell in different utilities around the world and in the Netherlands. The Middle East, the GCC region, is typically a region where we are very active, especially in the past 7 years, where we started to build up references in seawater RO plants. We see a lot of traction. We wrote some publications based on results we gained with implementation in different RO plants, and that is causing a lot of traction at the moment. But also we are pretty active in Southeast Asia, where there is also still a lot of industry. People become more aware of environmental awareness, reducing the amount of chemicals, and this technology fits in, very nicely.
Absolutely. Great story, Harry, and thanks for sharing. And impressive to see the progress that you and your colleagues have made. And if there are any other questions that any one of you has for Harry, please reach out to Harry directly. And as said at the start, this webinar is recorded, including Harry's part. There are a few minutes left, and I would like to use that to share a few more slides about the way we support companies with technology, integrated technology package. So you see it coming back on the screen. So the platform technologycatalog.com is our main product, and through the platform we make insights available to companies. But we also see that in some cases companies prefer to get support, and that's what we do. And if we go to the next slide, we help companies in different ways to define your strategy, to help you develop some fit for purpose guidelines and procedures such that technology deployment is embedded in a structured way in your organization. We can support you with building a technology plan using the methodology, and do it in such a way that we help you a couple of times and then pass on the capability such that from that point onwards you can do it yourself. If needed, I mean, we're happy to support as well, but our aim is also to pass on capability. And if needed, we can also help you with all the follow-up steps to sustainably embed technology into the business. And part of the package is also that you and your colleagues get access to the technologycatalog.com platform, including the advanced insights that Pete shared. And this support is delivered by, and if we go to the next slide, by Pete, Vincent, the other co-founder of the company, and myself. So combined, we have over 60 years of experience. And we make insights available that we obtained not only through the Shell days, also since starting technologycatalog.com and the platform. Whenever we support you with building a technology plan, we use the platform as the main source with the data and the insights. Piet, in his overview, already shared a couple of the insights. You see a couple of screenshots here. Maybe difficult to read, but just to summarize what we do, we make insights available via bubble charts, tables, benchmarking data, powerful input to build the plan. And what we then do as well, as highlighted briefly just now, but now captured on a slide. The next slide is whatever input or help you need with developing procedures, we can help. So, and these are a couple of real life examples of support we've given over the years. Top right is a summary table of a technology deployment guideline that we put together for one of our customers. And finally, indeed, the technology planning activities captured that in the first half of this presentation. We support you with, we can support you with planning. And this table, which was also captured on the previous slide and didn't discuss it at the time in detail, but in a nutshell, this table summarizes an outcome of a mapping exercise that can also be easily used to track progress. So I would like to leave it here. If there are any final questions, you can type them in the Q&A box, but we're available to discuss further at any moment in time. Please contact us at info@technologycatalog.com. And of course, as said, for Harry's part, please contact him directly. And if I don't see any final questions coming up, then I suggest we close the webinar here, unless there's anything else from you, Piet, that you would like to highlight.
No, just want to thank all the attendees for joining the call today.
Thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day. And looking forward to seeing you in one of our next webinars again. Thank you. Have a great day.
Good day. Goodbye.